No, it's not my hair messed up. Those are chili peppers behind me. And I just want to make this video because I've come across people who try to say take everything in the Bible literally, or it's just, oh gosh, that, the generic God killer / Beelzebub. You have to take everything in the Bible literally. Really? Or that everything in the Bible applies, and there's no, once something is written in the Bible, it can be used forever and all times. Which is basically what he sees. All Christians are racist because even though the Jews weren't a race, never were, in some parts of the Bible it seems that God favors the Jews or Israelites, depending on what time. There were Israelites in the desert, and under David and Solomon, then they split to the Israelites and the Jews of the south with Benjamin and Judah and parts of Levi, and the Israelites north with the rest of the tribes, mainly Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Asher, Issachar, and then the Mushite Levites to the north. Is this true? Well, let's see. Let's use the most archaic translation that's in wide use, not something like the Geneva Bible, but the King James. I mean, pretty crazy language. Isaiah 2:6. Ezekiel 25:17. Sorry, it's Ezekiel. Ezekiel 25:17. The wrath, path of the righteous. No. That's actually not even. That's a concoct. Those are a few different verses from Ezekiel put together, by the way. 2:6. Oh my God, 2:6. Well, it brings up this book. People are asking me what was written in the foreword of this book that was written to me, but I'll get to that in the next video. 2:6. And thou, son of man, be not afraid of them, neither be afraid of their words. Though briars and thorns be with thee, thou dost dwell among scorpions. Be not afraid of their words, nor be dismayed at their looks, though they are a rebellious house. So when he calls them scorpions, is this a literal, does he mean scorpions? Or does he mean people who have, people who their words sting, like the stinger of a scorpion? He calls them a rebellious house. Doesn't it mean people and not an actual house where like the frame of the house is arguing with the windows, and the struts and the joints are arguing, and the plaster doesn't get along with the drywall. So it's people not being afraid of the words of scorpions, because everyone knows scorpions can talk. People in the Bible were so crazy because they thought scorpions could talk and a house could argue with itself. Or do you read that in the context of the whole chapter, or not even the chapter, since these came later? Shouldn't you just read it in context of the book? Not to mention the history that goes along with this. In, I guess it would be 2 Kings, and then if you wanted to finish it up, first parts Ezra, latter parts of 2 Chronicles. And then, although, because these work from different, this is from a different, even the wildly different manuscripts that I've had, and since Hebrew back then wasn't translated as good as it might be, And you, O son of man, neither fear them nor fear their words. Through thistles and thorns, though thistles and thorns are with you, you sit on scorpions, neither fear nor their words, nor be dismayed in their presence, for they are a rebellious house. See, it contradicts. One says briar and one says thistles, even though that's the same thing. So, it's totally, there's never a metaphor or allusion or, allegory or even parables, because there's no parables in the Bible. It's not like Matthew 5 is nothing but parables. It's called Beatitudes, or not Beatitudes, but parables of Christ. Sorry, I said Matthew 5. Those are the Beatitudes, but prodigal son, the Pharisee and the publican. Ezekiel 18. The word of the Lord came unto me, saying again, What mean ye, that ye use proverb concerning the land of Israel, saying, the fathers have eaten sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge. As I live, saith the Lord, ye shall not have occasion any more to use this proverb in Israel. And the proverb basically says what a father's sins can go upon the children, that you can blame the children for sin. See, this is the best verse to use to destroy original sin. Because even if people want to use original sin in the past, use these verses to try to come up with original sin, guess what? God says never to use those passages anymore. Now again, people say, who will never have given occasion for that, so it means that will, you can use that, but it just won't ever come up. Learn to speak the language. That was the language of that time, and people knew exactly what it meant. Ezekiel 18. Then the word of the Lord came to me, saying, what do you mean using this proverb concerning the land of Israel, saying, the fathers eat the sour grapes, but the children's teeth are set on edge? As I live, declares the Lord, you are surely not going to use this proverb in Israel anymore. Read Ezekiel 18. It's actually a great thing saying, no, you can't go around enslaving children because you think their parents committed idolatry or intermarried in people that married people you didn't like and you considered intermarriage. So those are the two things destroying the arguments of the literalists. I don't know that we need to go after the people who put everything into, it was just a metaphor. And Jesus walked into Jerusalem. See, that's a metaphor for it. You need to put one foot in front of the other so you can actually get somewhere, and that's showing hard work. And Jerusalem is actually the symbol for the kingdom of heaven, and you need to work no. It's yes, you should look at how the church has interpreted through the years and how they've taken passages, and there's some passages that are divided up, and they're not. Sometimes their meaning can be obscured by the divisions, like chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Particularly in the Apocalypse of John, where Mary is depicted as the ark, but since the King James is a Protestant translation, it tries to divide that pretty much intentionally. If you look at 11, 19 to 12:1, basically verses butted up right against each other. The last verse of chapter 11, the first verse of chapter 12. Now these were put in, unlike what Pandeer's box says, by the early church fathers, by the earliest of the Catholic Church. It was actually put in medieval Renaissance times in Germany. And the temple of God was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the Ark of the Testament. And there were lightnings and voices and thunders and earthquake and great hail. And there appeared a great woman in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, travailing in birth, pain to deliver. And then it basically is a analogy of the flight into Egypt, Mary and Joseph, and she brought forth a man-child who's to rule over all nations within her, and her child was caught unto God and his throne, and the woman fled into the wilderness. Yeah, it's all this kind of stuff. But yeah, these were to go together. Mary is the ark. That's probably the clearest section in the Bible. People can say, oh, but you don't read the Apocalypse. Yes, we do. We don't read it in church. We can read anything. The Protevangelium, the Ex Apollo Thecla, the Didache, these are very important to us. It's lost, and nothing was lost. There were things that were forged, and basically things that came from the 3rd and 4th centuries that the church never used. They were used by people who were the Eleusinian mysteries and the mystery religions of Rome, and then and Plato's ideas about the soul, and tacked on popular Christian names like Simon Peter and Mary Magdalene and Philip, and then tried to say, oh, we are the Gnostics, we have the real knowledge, and then they died out. They were latecomers and they died early, so no. Alright, take it easy. I guess I'll go on for the forward to Too Young to Die after this. Peace to you. I hope this clears things up for anybody who that was an issue with. But then again, I hope that was never an issue for you. Because I've come across people who try to say take everything in the Bible literally, or it's just, oh gosh, that, the generic God killer / Beelzebub. You have to take everything in the Bible literally. Really? Or that everything... No, it's not my hair messed up. Those are chili peppers behind me. And I just want to make this video. The Jews weren't a race, never were. In some parts of the Bible, it seems that God favors the Jews or Israelites, depending on what time. There were Israelites in the desert, and nothing in the Bible applies, and there's no, once something is written in the Bible, it can be used forever and all times, which is basically what he sees. All Christians are racist because even though